Hello everyone, my name is the Lego Kid 2003, and we're doing another deck showcase. It's a little bit later than I planned, because I was initially planning on putting this video up before New Year's, but it's the new year, and I'm recording this now. So, it is a deck showcase that I've definitely put off, because I wanted this to have a deck number that's divisible by 3. I have my personal reasons for that. But let me introduce my 6th custom deck, Dual Sky Temple. Of course, long viewers of this channel will recognize the flag immediately. It is my custom flag, Duality Arm. And it's a little different from normal flag cards in the sense that you're starting off with more stuff than you normally would. In a normal game of Buddy Fight, you'd be starting off with 2 gauge, 10 life, and 6 hand cards. You're starting off with some extra resources. And then, of course, I'll explain a bit more in depth about the cards that you can use. So, yep, this is the flag. And then my buddy is the oh-so-wonderful Overturn Warrior Quenzway. Size 2, so you can only have one of these guys on the field at the time. Or, yeah, at one time. 6,000 power, 6,000 defense. One swing from this guy deals 3 damage to your opponent. Relatively easy card to play. His ability, of course, is Overturn, which is an extremely broken ability that can only be used once per game. So, simply pay 2 gauge, put this card in the upright position, it can attack again, and if you're lucky, you're going to be swinging at your opponent for 6 damage total. So I'm going to put that card to the side and show off the other cards. Of course, literally the first card is Quenzway, along with this card right here. There are 4 other copies. Now, this is an example of a dual card. It's basically any card that has more than one world alignment. So as you can see at the very bottom right there, this card belongs to both Darkness Dragon World and Star Dragon World. It's very pretty. There are the stats right there. There's the ability, or abilities, that it has. And there are 2. This card is a card I love because of just how useful it is. But Super Sun Deity Dragon Bal Soleil Dios. Yes, its name is a mixture of French and Spanish. I will pronounce it. I will pronounce it to the best of my ability. But yeah, it's a very beautiful card and very useful with that ability right there. So this card basically ensures that the center position will always remain open so that you can just let loose as many attacks against your opponent directly as you can. And there are 2. The next card is 1 copy of 5th Omni Dragon Lord Tenbu. Now, the reason why I only have 1 of this card and a few others is because of this little keyword right here. So the condition is that I can use this card with any flag I want, but if I'm not using a Dragon World deck, I can only use one, and that is it. But either way, it's very much worth it, because similar to Balsoleil, I can destroy monsters pretty easily. And there's another one of those Omnilords right here. Once again, one copy. There are two copies, you just saw the next card, of Shadow Hero Growl. And this card is extremely useful to have in your deck if you're able to put it in, because Gauge is incredibly useful in a game of buddy fight, since a lot of stronger cards will need to pay you'll need to pay a cost for them. For example, this guy. You need 2 Gauge. So, should you ever run out of Gauge, just put Growl on the field, send him to attack, and you get 4 Gauge completely for free. There is yet another Omnilord. Yes, I did put quite a few Omnilords in here. Mainly because they're awesome. And there's another one. This one is so useful. So every time you're dealt damage, you can choose one of these additional effects. So either this card can attack twice in one turn, or you can just destroy one of your opponent's monsters. Now, you guys saw the word size there. That's this number up here. So if this number here is a 2, a 1, or a 0, this guy can destroy it no problem. Now, I do believe there are 4 copies of this card. In here, yes? Yep, 4 copies. Of Black Knights of Clarity El Quixote. So, every time this guy attacks, you get to draw a card. But only if the attack is successful. If your opponent counters that attack, you are not going to be able to draw a card. So, this card is a bit of a double-edged sword, in the sense that, yes, you can draw a card each time it attacks, but said attack has to actually land. The next card works very well with Balsoleil. It's this guy. So, just a notification for Facebook, it's fine. So, one of the fun parts about Star Dragon Worlds is this ability right here. So you can put this card underneath monsters like Balsoleil, and it will give an additional effect. But there are 2. This guy is a little bit weird, in the sense that you can't call him right from the start. And considering how strong he is, it makes sense. But I'll be showing this card in a little bit. But it's definitely a very gimmicky card, but once you're able to use it and use it well, you will be borderline unstoppable. As long as it stays on the field, because the second this card is destroyed, you're losing 10 precious life points immediately. And since it's effect damage, you can't really nullify it through conventional means. But I believe in this card's strength, so I put 3 of them in here. And I put in another Omnilord for good measure. But this one is incredibly good, since it basically allows you to get another chance. Because as long as there are other cards under this one, every time your life becomes 0, you can throw away one soul card and you get to basically revive yourself. So this card is incredibly useful in just about any deck that you can legally put this card in terms of using it for emergencies. But I put one of them in there, because it's an Omnilord, just like this guy. But even then, you only really need 1 or 2 copies of this card anyway, since all you have to do is pay 1 gauge, and you can get this card back as many times as you need to. This is similar to the card that Mysaria needs to be called, but a little bit different. Because it grants more power and defense, and it basically ensures that any set spell that you have on your field does not get destroyed. And I'll explain set spells a little bit later, once I actually find that card. But I put 3 of that card in here. Luanova, I put 2 of them, yeah, 2 of them in here. But there is the effect right there. And what I always enjoy doing is using 1 copy of Luanova to pay for the other one, so that I can get both of the effects at the same time. Ooh, we're getting into counter spells already. Goodness. But counter spells will definitely save you, since, especially this one, because every time you use it, whenever your opponent is going to attack you, use this card and you get to hold on to 3 extra life points. And with 2 copies of this card in the deck, that's a grand total of 6. This is a simple card that allows you to clear the field, but you have to have 6 life or less, which under this specific flag means losing pretty much half the life points you have, since you're starting off with 12. So it is a little risky, but it is pretty worth it, since you destroy a monster that your opponent is controlling, and you get extra gauge. I put 2 of them in there. Now, if you guys saw the Divine Guardians deck that I put up a little bit ago, you recognize this card. So, it's very simple, very easy, and pretty conditional. Because if you have more than 10 cards thrown away, you cannot use this spell. So, it's definitely good to use it the second you have the chance, because it's very useful. But I only have 1 copy, so the chances of me using it are slim. This spell works very well with one that I'm going to show you later. How close are we to... Oh, cool, we're slowly getting there. We're slowly getting to the back of the deck, so just bear with me for just a little bit. But it's very cheap, and under this specific deck, you only will be able to use the second effect here, drawing a card and then removing all souls from set spells, just either on your side or the opponent's side. So you can either be incredibly annoying, or just quicken the amount of time it takes for certain set spells to reach 0 soul cards. But you can do that twice. This spell is one that I love, which is why I put 4 of them in here. But shield cards are your best friend, because they will allow you to protect your life points so you can survive for longer. So, it's very simple. Can't have monsters on in your center position, and you can only use this during your opponent's turn. So, you get to completely nullify the attack, and then you get additional effects based on what you have on your field. You can, of course, pause the video and read that, because this video is starting to get a little long. But this spell works really well with Mysaria, because if you remember, that dude has lifelink 10. So if you feel like, if you're using this deck and you feel like your Mysaria is about to be destroyed, simply use Dragon Blessing, and you get to return Mysaria to your hand without having to deal with the lifelink. So it says right there, nullify the lifelink. And there are 2 of those. Now, this is the spell that was mentioned with Mysaria earlier. This is the only way you can actually use that card effectively, because you cannot call Judgment of the Cold-Blooded King Mysaria at all unless you have this in your deck. Sadly, I wasn't very lucky in my pulls, so there's only 1 of them in here. This one is useful, but annoying, depending on if you're using it or if your opponent is using it. Because if the red number right here is 5,000 or less, you get to pay 1 gauge and destroy it. So, of course, like, the example that I chose, his power is 6,000, so he wouldn't be destroyed anyway, but he was the card that I had on hand, so I'm using him as, so I used him as an example. Anyways, there are 3 of those in here. This is a set spell. So if you can see right there, this card remains on the field, so it's not a one-shot spell like some of the other stuff that I've showed you. So you basically put it on the field, and it stays there until the effects resolve or your opponent destroys it. Also, you just saw a sneak peek of the next card. But yeah, that is the effect. If the camera will focus, there we go. So yeah, that's what that card does. But yeah, since you got a quick peek of the card next to it, or behind it, you know that I only put 1 of those in here. Items. I kind of explained this items in the last video, but these basically allow you to bring yourself into the fight. So, they're definitely very, very, very useful. But yeah, that's what this one does. And I put 1 of them in here. Now, in all honesty, I really like this item, because it's very, very annoying to use against your opponent. I know I've said that a couple times, but this one's incredibly annoying. You do have to sacrifice 1 of your life points, I will admit that, but the rewards you can reap from using this card make that loss so much worth it, because depending on what you have on the field, you can either attack using this item even if the center position is full. So it's kind of, so items are kind of interesting in the sense that you can't attack if there's something occupying your center. So, also that's the last card. So I am going to very quickly kind of demonstrate, in a way, what exactly items are. So, you basically set them over your flag to basically say, like, hey, I'm participating in this fight now. So if I called Quenzway to the center, I can't use this item, because it's kind of like stabbing your own guy in the back, and you don't really want to do that. Of course, certain cards will allow you to do that anyway. Let me set this back up. But with that item specifically, you can. It's just a little conditional. But yeah, that's basically the entire deck. I know that it took me forever to actually get this video out, and I am very sorry. But I definitely hope that you guys enjoyed a bit of a look as to the deck that I've been working on, and this is the deck case that I've used for all the buddy fight videos that I've done. But this is kind of an early concept deck, since Quenzway is the only duality arm card that I have in there, aside from the flag, of course. So if I do end up making more cards, I will be doing an update video when the deck is 100% done, or at the very least more developed than this. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, then comment, like, subscribe, and as always, stay awesome.